My life lately. Yes, I'm busy, but we gotta check in sometime. I just want to show up for the people who have always showed up for me. Oh my goodness, y'all. I am a daddy's girl down. Right on that field. These people, these toxic exes, nobody wants to show up for the person that never showed up for them. That is something you need to put in your journal for 2025. Hate to sound like the auntie, I'm never gonna go without. You ain't got to be paying a man's bill. All right, now I might ruffle some feathers. I might shake the table a little bit with this next piece of advice. Hi beautiful, welcome back to my channel. If you're here for the first time, my name is Shay Nicole and I love creating videos to help elevate your confidence in style and self-care while also dropping gems for my current and aspiring content creators. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's get into today's recap of recent events. I am doing these vlogs to share with you my life lately clips. This is just a moment for me to let you know what's been going on in my life, where have I been, what have I been doing, and just to make sure that we're still here, girl, because I know you're busy. Yes, I'm busy, but we gotta check in sometime. So first and foremost, I have to say, this new year is off to an amazing start, and it just is a testament to how much work I put in 2024. Like, your girl was grinding, your girl was traveling, making connections and networking and shaking hands, kissing babies. I was doing the most, right? And I really wanted to take this month to just sit my tail down, okay? Sit back, relax, and reflect while also still working, but working from home because again, like I said, 2024, I did a lot of traveling. So as I sit back and reflect on just my year in general, last year, and think about what I want to do moving forward, like what is 2025 going to look like? What are the things I need to accomplish? A huge part of me wants to continue pouring in and do bigger and better things for my loved ones. And that's when I realized, wait a minute, I never even showed them how I surprised my dad for belated birthday / Christmas gift. Like, I didn't even tell y'all about that. So I'm definitely gonna get into that next. But one of my goals for this year is I just want to show up for the people who have always showed up for me. And I think it's so important to give people their flowers while they are still here. So many times you hear stories about, I wish I could have did this, I wish I had more time with that person when people pass away. And I don't want that to be my story. Obviously, when our loved ones go, we're gonna be super sad. It's gonna be devastating. But if we can take the time and effort to pour into them while we still have them, I think it is such a beautiful thing. And you may not have as many regrets later on when they go. So for me, this looks like showing up and being of support to my friends, my family, and of course doing the best that I can to show them that I care in their specific love language. Because I feel like that's an underrated thing when you think about how to show up for someone. Most of us show up for other people how we want them to show up for ourselves. Does that make sense? Like, if your love language in a relationship, right, is words of affirmation or gifts, quality time, etc., that is how you receive love from your partner, right? But how they receive love is their own love language. And we need to apply that same mentality to our loved ones and our close friends. And that is something that's just not talked about enough. So when is the last time you asked your best friend what their love language is when it comes to friendships? Or when was the last time you sat and thought, I wonder how my parents feel appreciated? These are questions I want you to write down and start asking yourself for 2025 and beyond. How can you show up for your loved ones, whether it's your partner, your best friend, your parents, your children? How can you show up in a love language that they actually appreciate and that they understand? Because you can go all out for someone. For example, Christmas was not too long ago. You might have gotten all these gifts for your kids or a loved one, and deep down, you know, it's not that they didn't appreciate and like it, but maybe they wanted to spend some quality time with you. Maybe they didn't really care for the gifts or you spending money, but they wanted, you know, you just to pour into them with your words, or you to let them know how much you love them, how much you appreciate them. All I'm saying, y'all, is I want us to sit back and reflect on how we are showing up and showing support and love for those who are closest to us, and how can we do a better job in 2025 and beyond. So with that being said, let me tell you how I got to surprise my daddy for Christmas. Oh my goodness, y'all. If you know me, then you already know, baby, I am a daddy's girl down to the socks, honey. You can't tell me nothing about my daddy. You can't. Who said something about my daddy? Nobody. Not in my presence, baby. I love my daddy. Been a daddy's girl, always gonna be a daddy's girl. So it was such a huge blessing for me to be able to take him to his very first NFL game. Yes, that's right, first. And it's crazy because most dads, like, I'm a millennial. My dad was born in the 60s, so that makes him, you know, his early 60s now. He's 63. And I feel like most dads and like grandpas in that age, they love football. Like my daddy loved football down. And he is from Baltimore, Maryland. He's a diehard Ravens fan. So the fact that he's never been to a game is kind of crazy when I think about it. But to give you a little more context and like a backstory on my dad, again, he was born in the 60s. He went into the military at a very young age. He was only 17 years old, okay? His parents, well, his mom, had to sign off for him to go into the Air Force. So I am a military brat, okay? My daddy did almost 40 years in the Air Force. So again, he went into the Air Force at a very young age, 17, left home and never went back to Baltimore. But he carried his love for Baltimore with him wherever he went, okay? Remember that. So in his journey in the military, he ended up wanting to become a minister, so he became an ordained minister, and then he went on to become an ordained like licensed pastor. He had his own church when we were stationed in Louisiana. Actually, he took over a church when we were stationed in Germany first, and then when we got to Louisiana, he gave up his church in Germany, obviously, because he couldn't pastor anymore, so he passed it down to whoever was next in line. And then in Louisiana, he didn't have his own church, but he rose to like the next in line of that ministry we were in Louisiana. And then when we moved to Virginia, and that's where I kind of claim Virginia as my home because I spent the most time there, he started his own church, also ran a foundation. I mean, he had so much going on in the community, in the Hampton Roads community. Shout out to the 757. So long story short, because you may be thinking, well girl, what does that have to do with the man never going to a football game? Well child, my daddy was just a very simple man all his life, and he still is to this day. Like if it ain't have nothing to do with the Lord, okay, doing work for the church or his job or us, his family, obviously, baby, he wasn't going. Like he just was a simple guy. Like I can't even think of a time where I saw my dad like buy himself anything. Again, he was born in the 60s, okay? He's an old school gentleman. He wasn't out doing much shopping or self-care. Like that wasn't really a thing of his generation. He wasn't really treating himself to things. And when I think about like even the cost of a simple football game ticket, even if you're sitting like at the high, like the top, you know, it's not that bad, it's not that expensive. But for my dad, it just was never a priority. You know, my brother and I, because I do have an older brother, we were his priority. And my older brother and I are actually 8 years apart. So my brother moved out of the house when we lived in Louisiana. He graduated high school, moved out, and when we relocated to Virginia when I was starting the 4th grade, my brother didn't come with us. So from the 4th grade on up to graduating high school, I was raised as the only child. But my dad pretty much poured himself into work, church, and then when he retired from the military, he poured himself into church and poured himself into like to me and my mom. Like we were just his main focus. He didn't really have a lot of extracurriculars, and his friends were also in the church. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I have to ask my daddy, like, why didn't you ever make it to a football game? I'm not really sure, especially because he's a diehard Ravens fan, and I feel like Maryland is not that far from Virginia. It's literally next door. But anyway, I knew this for a while that I wanted to be the one to take him to his first game, and I ended up it was like perfect timing because I ended up seeing that the Ravens were coming on Christmas Day. So I got the ticket in advance, and lo and behold, y'all, here's how I know I'm God's favorite. Here's how I know, because I don't care about football. I just want to see my daddy smile, right? I'm doing this good deed for him. I'm giving him this gift. It's an amazing surprise. I'm so excited. And lo and behold, a couple of weeks before the game, Beyonce announced that she's doing a whole Netflix special, y'all. A whole special, a whole concert for her Cowboy Carter album. Like, I couldn't believe it. Not only is my daddy going to see the Ravens play for the first time in person, but I'm going to see Beyonce for about the 5th or 6th time, because I've seen her perform several times. Like, this is crazy. I was so excited, and I had to keep it all in. Like, I couldn't tell nobody but Jeremiah. I didn't want to tell my mama too soon because she might have spilled the beans. So I kept it inside from her. I didn't tell her till like right before. But I wanted this to be like a daddy-daughter day again. Me and my daddy be like this. Before it was a daddy-daughter day, it was gonna be a whole family thing. Myself, Jeremiah, my mom and dad, and Gigi. However, at the point where I got the tickets, child, I could not find tickets altogether. And with Ticketmaster, if you've ever tried to get tickets on Ticketmaster, you already know the struggle. Trying to get an odd number of seats, because it would have been 5 of us. They wouldn't let Gigi into the stadium without a ticket. You have to be 1 or younger, and she's about to be 3 in March. So either way, that was a failed mission, trying to get all us to sit together. But lo and behold, I was able to secure 2 tickets, and not just any 2 tickets, baby. We was at the bottom, okay? We was at the 50-yard line, right on that field, damn near. I could have touched the grass if I wanted to, all right? I'm gonna show you some clips in a second, but I just have to say, God is so good, because the way I was able to surprise him with this card and like these little Ravens. Matter of fact, let me just show you. Let me show you how I surprised him. Check out this video. I'm about to surprise my dad with tickets to his very first NFL game for Christmas. Now, my daddy is from Baltimore, so he is a diehard Ravens fan, honey. You can't tell that man nothing about the Ravens. So this is the perfect gift, and he just celebrated his 63rd birthday, so I think it's about time for him to see his favorite team play. They're playing against the Houston Texans on Christmas Day, and he thinks he's gonna watch the game from home like he usually does. But nope, not this time.
Dear Daddy, roses are red, violets are blue. Wear this hat to the game tomorrow. I'll pick you up at 2. Love
To know me is to understand I'm a daddy's girl for life. And I'm so blessed to be in the position to give him a gift like this. And now we're off to the game. You guys, wasn't that the cutest thing? Oh. And my daddy is not really an emotional man, so I've only seen him cry twice in my whole life. Once when I told him, wait, was it? No, when I told him I was pregnant. At our baby shower. He cried at the baby shower when he had to give words, you know, his little speech. He cried, it was so heartfelt. And then right before he walked me down the aisle. So only 2 times I ever seen that man cry. So I didn't expect him to cry when I gave him the card. I knew he was gonna like have butterflies and be so excited though, because my dad is a big kid at heart. That's where I get it from. We both real childish. So the day of the game was just so cute, because the way he was just looking around, eyes all big, and you know, he didn't know that we were gonna sit so close to the 50-yard line. So just his excitement and the expression on his face was priceless, worth every penny. I would do it again tomorrow. This reminded me of the time I got to pour into my mom. I took her to Mexico for her birthday. Well, her birthday's in January, but I did like a belated trip because I was so busy last year. So we didn't go into the summertime. And I got to take her for the first time flying first class, her first time out the country in over a decade. I got her passport renewed. I mean, I really spoiled her down with our first annual, I'm calling it an annual mommy-daughter trip. It was our first one, definitely won't be our last. So you can check out that vlog. This is the thumbnail here in case you missed it. You can scroll back. It wasn't that long ago, again, last summer. But y'all, this has just been, I can't even tell you how rewarding it's been to be able to pour back into the people that created me. Like what? My mom and dad. And it's a no-brainer. Like who's gonna be first on my list outside of my husband and my child to pour into? Obviously my parents that gave me life. So I want to show you just some quick clips from the game. I'm sorry in advance. I did have to use my phone because the stadium out here in Houston, like most stadiums, you can't bring a bag, you know, that's bigger than like this. And if you do bring a bag that's bigger, it has to be cleared, and even then it still can't be really big. I think the biggest is like 6 inches. So either way, I couldn't have my camera. I didn't feel like bringing my small, you know, my little handheld DJI, because I thought they were gonna take it. I don't know, I was just nervous about that, especially because Beyonce, you know, she was performing. So I was like, I'm not sure if they're gonna allow like real cameras up in here. So I just used my phone. It's a little ghetto, but I still wanted you to see the footage, so check it out from the game where I got to take my daddy, surprise him for his very first NFL game, and he got to see his favorite team, the Ravens. Okay, y'all, so I want to do a quick chit chat about the dating game. I understand it's getting real ghetto in these streets. I mean, the dating game was horrible when I was in it back in, when did I meet Jeremiah? I met Jeremiah in 2018. So prior to 2018, I remember how crazy it was in these streets. So I'm pretty sure it's only gotten worse, like especially with social media these days. I feel like social media has made everything worse. But before I get into the chit chat about that, I have to show you this full circle moment, right? Of one of my closest friends getting proposed to. Now, this is so special to me because here's a picture right here of her helping me put my veil on at my wedding because she was one of my bridesmaids. And the fact that I got to go fly out to Maryland, you're gonna see in a second, I got to fly out to her proposal because I wasn't gonna miss it for the world, baby. Let's be very clear. I was never gonna miss it. The fact that I got to do that and come right back home and continue working, God is good, okay? Because it was very last minute. Well, obviously her boyfriend was, well, her fiance, but her former boyfriend was planning and he didn't want to tell a bunch of people. So he only told her closest of closest and he waited till literally like a week and a half or 2 weeks before. So the fact that, you know, he included us, Jeremiah and I, because he reached out to the both of us, it's just, it's so special to me. So I just want to show you that. And then I'm gonna come back and do a little chit chat about her, that experience. And then we got to get into some dating gems, honey, because I can't have y'all out here tripping, okay? We got to have a little talk. So get into this proposal.
Cap in a stem, cap a wave on us. Take a shot, make a friend, just enjoy the moment. Blue sky walking on these haters. Celebrate every day like a birthday. Things come, feel those that wait up. Don't wait to jump in too long. Don't sleep, you gotta stay up. Don't sleep, you gotta stay up. I'm standing so I stand out. I'm more babes in a bathhouse. Top gun on my thumb cruise. Paper keeps and I don't lose. You more than love it cause I'm cool as a breeze. So take the poison, yeah, I got what you need. Nonchalant, got the green, I'm a patient. 4, 3, 2, 1.
First year,
It's
so
happening.
yeah. I know.
You guys, it's happening in, wait, what time
Happening
is it?
in less than 3 hours.
Less than 3 hours.
Faith will be engaged.
Future Mrs.
Team
Thomas.
Ride! Team
Period.
Ride!
Period.
Sleep, you gotta stay up. Don't sleep, you gotta stay up. Wildin' on my haters. In my 23s, having a Jordan moment. Wildin' with the paper. Ice on my jeans.
We are so excited. We cannot wait. Congratulations to Mrs. Thomas.
Fuck you with my chain.
Watch you walk across the streets. That one day I'll be right here, bending down at your feet. That would make me the happiest man in the world.
She's saying,
So many things I've got to tell you, but I'm afraid I don't know how. Cause there's a possibility that you look at me differently, love. Ever since the first moment I spoke your name, from then on I knew that by you being in my life, things were
Okay, first of all, can we just take a moment to clap it up for that man? Will, I am so happy for you. I am so elated and excited to call you my brother. Congratulations. I don't know if you're watching this, child, but thank you for loving on my sister. Listen, let me tell y'all something. My girl Faith, that's her name. Oh, and did I tell y'all the hashtag is Will Has Faith? Y'all, talk about a match made in heaven. Talk about perfection. Let me give you a quick backstory. I'm not telling all my sister business, but let me just give you a little context of why this was such a full circle moment for me and being able to witness that. I mean, y'all, okay. So I met Faith when I was a senior in college. Shout out to Virginia Union University, VUU, our HBCU back in Virginia. She was a freshman, so Faith is a few years younger than me. I ended up being like her orientation leader because I was like in SGA and I was on our royal court. So I did interact with her a lot, but we didn't become friends until after college when we ended up working in the same office at our alma mater. And child, the way we just clicked real quick, I mean, I think if we would have been on the yard at the same time, because obviously she's a freshman, I'm a senior, I graduated and didn't see her much after that. But if we would have been on the yard at the same time, I definitely think we would have became friends earlier, but everything happens for a reason. Once we became friends while we were working together, it was just, like I said, an instant click. You know, she just understood me. We got each other. We had so many things in common. First of all, like I'm a PK, like I explained earlier. My dad's a preacher, been a pastor all my life, and Faith is the same way. She's a PK, her dad's a pastor. Both of our parents have retired, you know, from ministry but since then. But the fact that we just instantly connected off of that alone, and then so many other things that we had in common. You know, we're both working in higher education, but we weren't really truly fulfilled. Like we kind of were at first, but then after a while we were like, okay, what's next, Lord? Like this can't be it, right? So I ended up leaving Virginia, moving to New York, and we kept in touch, stayed close friends. Our bond grew, and then, you know, I fell in love, got married. She was one of my bridesmaids, and she just supported me. She was happy for me. And let me say this, you got to be happy for your friends in your single season, because I'm not gonna lie, sometimes when the girlies get engaged, they, not even sometimes, most of the time, they start to see who their true friends are, and it shouldn't be like that. If you were in your single season, as I once was, you got to be happy for your friends. You got to be happy knowing that no, it's not your turn yet, but this is a symbolic moment of what is to come for you. And that's exactly how she was when it came to my wedding. Like, she was right there, not by my side physically because she was back in Virginia, I was in Texas, but anything I needed, drop of a dime, drop of a call, she was just so supportive and such a prayer warrior. Like, I love Faith Down. That is my girl. Like, she just knows how to get a prayer through, okay? And you know, relocating to Texas was hard because I didn't have any friends here. So the fact that I could still have this close bond with her through FaceTime and Zoom, and you know, eventually she came down and visited for my baby shower, and then when Gigi was first born, I think she came when Gigi was like maybe 5-6 months old. You know, she just continues to show up for me, and I loved it. I loved it, loved it, loved it. She's just such a kind soul. So fast forward, you know, a couple years later, after I met Jeremiah, I told Faith, like, girl, you got to get up out of Virginia. You got to leave your hometown. That's one of my first pieces of advice for my single ladies watching this. You got to go. Your hometown is not it. I'm sorry. I'm not saying that you should just move in hopes of finding a husband. I'm not saying that. But I do think that moving away from your hometown is one of the first steps in just redefining yourself as a woman. Like, going through your grown woman phase, switching careers, or getting into another job in your same career field. You know, these are some of the things that I did, and I call that like the cheat code of life, like the cheat code to really getting into your womanhood journey. You got to get out of your comfort zone, get out of your same old surroundings you've been in since high school, child. Get away from these people. Oh, these toxic exes, girl. Get on out. The toxic situationship, child. You got to go. You got to go. You got to leave your hometown. And that is exactly what Faith did. She took my advice. She left. She relocated to Maryland, which was not too far. You know, she's from Virginia. A hop, skip, and a jump away from her parents, and who she's so close to, just like I'm close to my parents. And I watched her just blossom and bloom into this confident, strong young woman. She ended up leaving from working at our alma mater, just like I did. And she started a new career working in tech, just like I did. You know, we have a lot of similarities, clearly, a lot of similarities. And I just watch her evolve and grow and keep the faith. No pun intended, because her name is Faith. But I watched her go from you know, one of my mentees when she was a freshman in college to this amazing, intelligent, smart, beautiful, strong, confident young woman. And then lo and behold, she met her prince. Charming, honey. She met her Boaz. I am just so happy for her. Like, this moment meant the world to me, and I just really appreciate Will for including Jeremiah and I. Also, I was going to kill him if he didn't, but I'm pretty sure he was going to include us regardless of the threat. But I just love the fact that we got to be there. It was such a moment of just reflection for me, seeing what God has done, not only in my life, but in my close friends' life. And it is so important to show up and be there for your friends, okay? Lord knows I was tired. All the traveling we had just done, you know, coming back from Bali, and then we're hosting for Christmas. There's so much going on. But when that man told Jeremiah and I that he was proposing, okay, right after Christmas, we booked the flight. No questions asked. I didn't care how much the flight was gonna cost. We were like, listen, we can't miss it. We're gonna be there. And it was a quick turnaround trip. We literally got to Maryland, got to our sister-in-law and brother-in-law's house. I think at 8 that morning. Will proposed to Faith at 7 p.m. and we were back on a flight, headed home at 6 a.m. the very next morning. Quick turnaround trip, 24 hours, but it was well worth it. And I am so glad I got to witness that. And I'm just so overjoyed because I cannot wait to see Faith as a wife. I can't wait to see them as parents. Like, this is only the beginning of their love story, and I'm just, y'all, my heart. Like, I feel like it was me. Like, I cheer and root for my friends as if it is my accomplishments, and they do the same thing for me. Like, reciprocity in friendships is everything, in every relationship, but especially in friendships. You have to show up for your friends. That is one of my biggest pieces of advice for those of you who are in the dating game right now. You need to be the friend that you want when you are going to be a wife, when you are going to be a fiance. Show up now for the people in your life that are already going through that journey, so that when it's your turn, you'll have that reciprocity. Nobody wants to show up for the person that never showed up for them. You know what I'm saying? And you're not doing it just to get the, you know, reap the benefits later. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that you just need to, like, be a good friend, be a good sister, be a good person. I think that's the first step in trying to figure out your dating life. What type of friend are you? Because let me tell you something, when it comes to my marriage, Jeremiah and I are friends first. And I think the essence of Jeremiah and I's friendship is that we are actually good friends to our friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, before we were friends to each other, we were really good at showing up for other people. So it's nothing for us to show up in our marriage because we are friends first. Did we start off as friends? No, we don't have that story where we went from, like, best friends to relationships, not like that. But the core of a good relationship is a friendship. So I think that that is something you need to put in your journal for 2025, child. What type of friend are you? Are you showing up for your people? And I'm not saying that you're going to be able to drop everything at the dime like I did for my friend when she got engaged, but it can just be in the little things. You know, the theme of this vlog has been pouring back into those who have always poured into you, whether it is your parents, your close friends, your spouse, your children. How are you showing up for others? And I think that is a big piece of advice I can give you when it comes to dating. You're going to have reciprocity. And I don't know, y'all, this generation, hate to sound like the auntie, you know, I'm 35 now, so I'm the auntie in my low key, okay? But I hate to say it, we have shifted, like, our culture has shifted in our community into, like, what have you done for me lately? What can you do for me? Can you take care of me? And, like, I mean, call it what you want, but the way this economy is set up, I'm not really here for the man got to take care of me and do everything. Unless it's like, okay, you meet somebody in a profession that obviously they have the type of coin where they can finance everything, like whether they were born into money or they have some type of very high paying level career, like professional sports or something, music industry. Maybe that's a different story. But even then and still, I would always have my own coin. I mean, that's just, call it what you want, honey. I'm never gonna go without. That's just the type of person I am. And it doesn't knock those who wants to depend on someone else. Don't get it twisted. I'm not knocking you, sis. Do you? But I feel like there's just a lack of reciprocity when it comes to dating. And it could be something so simple when it comes to, you know, dates and stuff. I did not pay for my dates with Jeremiah when we first started dating. However, there were other things that I did in our dating time that I feel like were reciprocity. Like, let's say, you know, we're going to the movies. Obviously, he's gonna get the tickets, but maybe I'll be like, "Ooh, let me get the snacks." And it's not to, like, show that I have my own money. Like, it wasn't like a power trip, but it was just me showing effort. You know what I'm saying? And even when I did that, the man didn't let me pay. Let me say that. Shout out to my baby. But if he would have, I would have been okay with that. Like, I have never had an issue with reciprocity. I know we always had this debate about, like online, this rhetoric about, oh, you shouldn't be going 50-50 splitting with your man, or that's not your man. My motto is do what works for your household. But I think today, in today's dating game, if you are struggling with the thought of going 50-50 or with the thought of like maybe you won't find a person to take care of you, I think you shouldn't go into dating with that mindset. I think you should go into dating thinking, how can I show up and support this person that I'm genuinely interested in, and finding ways to offer value that don't necessarily have to tie into money. Like, I didn't always open my purse or my wallet around Jeremiah like when we were dating. That's not what I'm saying. But there were other things that I did. So again, when it comes to dating and this whole debate about like who pays for what and who's gonna take care of who, I think that both of you should be taking care of each other. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't have to be dramatic. Like, you ain't got to be paying a man's bills. I'm not saying all that. But you can offer some type of help and support to show your value in his life. Because why would a man want to make you his wife when you have nothing of value? Like, you're not bringing anything to the table. I don't know. Some people have this old school thought. That's not me, but some people have this thought that like, as long as I'm showing up and looking cute and, you know, I got what's in between my legs, I deserve a ring. That's fine. Kudos to you, girl. But I just think that today's man has evolved, and you know, the healed man, the man that's in therapy, the man that's bringing more to the table than just his bank account, the man that's really intuitive and discerning and has a relationship with God, he needs a little bit more. Okay, he's gonna need something else than you looking good putting it down in the bedroom, to be frank. Like, that's just my opinion and my experience, and thinking of my own marriage and my close friends who are married, engaged in healthy relationships and thriving marriages. That's what I want you to know. You're gonna have to bring something else to the table, okay? And you should want to. Like, who wants to be the girl who doesn't have anything going for themselves? Like, who wants to be that woman? Let me know in the comments if that's you, girl. I need to know your rationale in the comments. Like, are you the woman who just wants to show up and look cute? If you are, that's fine. But just let me know what your rationale is in the comments. I would love to hear it. All right, now I might ruffle some feathers. I might shake the table a little bit with this next piece of advice, but all I can do is keep it real with you. I'm not ever here to lie or to sugarcoat anything, okay? And all of these are my personal opinion. Obviously, it's my YouTube, so it's my blog. That goes without saying, but listen, you're gonna have to stop doing wife duties and giving wife experiences for men who are not your husband. I'm gonna say it again. You cannot show up as a wife for a man who is not your husband. Now, before you come cursing at me, hold on. This is also a little bit case by case, because I also understand that everyone does not want to be married. And kudos to you if you have figured that out early on, because honey, marriage is not for everyone. Marriage is such a selfless act of sacrifice. Every single day you have to choose that person, and it's not cut out for everyone. I'm gonna be very honest. I personally do not think that. And that is, well, let me say this. I do believe everyone has the potential to be a good husband or wife. And I mean, I also have the potential of like one day being a neurosurgeon. Like, if I wanted to go to school for that, am I gonna do it? No. Should I do it? Absolutely not. Because it's not my passion. I'm not really into that. And that's how I feel about marriage. Does everyone have the capabilities to be a husband or wife? Sure. Does everyone have it in them to, you know, buckle down and be loyal, be trustworthy, be selfless, be committed? Absolutely. But will people do it? No, the average person won't. The average person doesn't want to put all their eggs in one basket. The average person doesn't want to commit themselves and commit their lives and join and become one with someone. And that is okay. That is totally okay. And a lot of people think that they do, but they really don't. When you really think about biblically what marriage is, and that's a whole other topic for a different day, child. I'm not going to get into that. But when you really think about being equally yoked, the average person, they ain't looking for all that. So when I say this, hey babe, it's my husband peeking in. Look, Jeremiah, like, speak that real, babe. He hyped me up. So when I say this, I'ma hold your hand when I say this. I'ma hold it close and tight and let you know you can't be doing all this for that man if he ain't got no intentions of marrying you, or he's not giving you indications that he wants to be married, honey. And it should be clear indications, as in conversation, as in he knows your ring size. Y'all are actively talking about like working towards marriage. And I also want to preface by saying there's a lot of factors here, like the amount of time y'all been together, your age. I mean, I don't think there's a specific age that you should say you're gonna get married. It can happen. Like, one of my closest friends, Jasmine, Gigi's godmommy, she got married super young. I didn't get married until I was 30. Well, I got engaged at 29, married at 30. I mean, there's no specific age. However, if you're really young watching this, I don't think that a lot of what I'm saying should apply to you. However, no matter what age you are, you shouldn't be going above and beyond and doing the most for a man who's not your husband. That, to me, that is just flat out rule of thumb, okay? Common sense. Now, you may be thinking, well, what are these things that people be doing? Well, I believe that you have to tread lightly when it comes to putting your name on documents, legal documents, with a man that is not your husband, okay? So this could be having a car in his name or your name. Y'all got cars together. A house. An apartment could be different simply because with a lease, I mean, you can break it. It's not like a mortgage. It's not like a 30-year mortgage with a man that's not your husband. An apartment, I got an apartment with Jeremiah. It was only a 12-month lease, you know, and we were only 6 months into the lease when he proposed. So, you know, that's a little different. However, I knew the man was gonna propose. Didn't know when, but I knew it was gonna happen because we were intentionally dating. And that is the difference, y'all. You gotta intentionally date. That's my next piece of advice. You can't be doing stuff out here for men, okay, when you ain't got no intention. They ain't got no intention about you. Y'all gotta have those conversations. If you are expressing that you wanna be married, or you at least wanna be exclusive and serious with a man, and you gotta use your discernment on this, he's not giving you the signal indication that that's what he wants to do, or he's stringing you along for years and years and years, then why would you go and get property with the person? Why would you go sign your name on any type of document that's not a marriage license with that man? Now, again, there is a difference. I'm only speaking to those who actually want to be married, okay? If you don't want to be married, then girl, this ain't, go ahead and click to the next vlog, because this does not apply to you, okay? But if you are seriously wanting to be married, do not set yourself up for failure by giving all of these things, okay? Doing all of these things up front with no security. Now, of course, I understand the ring does not mean a thing. The ring didn't mean a thing. Remember that? Y'all, I'm such a millennial for that. If you don't know that reference, either you didn't watch the OG cast of Real Housewives of Atlanta back in the day. I don't watch it no more, but either that or you're too young. But anyway, back to my point. I'm not saying that everything that I just said applies to every woman, because it doesn't. I'm specifically talking to those who want to be married to a good, God-fearing, loyal, committed, faithful man, okay? You cannot start doing things now for that man if he has not shown you any indication that he wants to put a ring on it. And I understand that a ring is not security because people get divorced every day. Duh, we know that. But I just feel like, why start a family and get property and do all these things with somebody and take that chance? I mean, do you really want to take that chance? And again, this is no shade if you've done it, because listen, life happens, all right? Life happens, and I'm never judgmental. Let's be very clear. I'm never judging. I support my friends who have been in situations like this, situationships like this, long-term relationships where it's just been up and down, a roller coaster. And I've had friends that have gotten divorced, friends who have gotten separated. I've seen it all. So I'm never judging. Let me be very clear on that. However, if you are at the point where you have not gone down that road yet, I'm here to save you, okay? I'm here to save you from mistakes that I know in my life I made and in people that are very close to me have made. I'm here to tell you things that maybe your closest do not want to tell you, okay? Don't sign up for a road that you may regret going down. You know what I'm saying? And obviously, yes, I know that you may regret getting married later down the road, but like, what are the odds? You know what I'm saying? You want to look at statistics. Would you do all of this, have children and have properties or businesses and cars and do all of this for a man that you know you want to marry, okay? But he does not see it for you. He does not see you as his wife. You shouldn't do it. One of my biggest pieces of dating advice, not fall for someone that is going to string you along. And I also know that sometimes you have to go through a little bit of a journey with the person to figure that out. But protect yourself and protect your heart. And make sure that you're asking real questions, okay? Having very real conversations like, what is our timeline? What do you see for our future? And start putting some dates down. Like, Jeremiah had been told me that we were gonna get married before I turned 30. No, he said we were gonna get engaged before I turned 30. And I was like, yeah, I'm not in no rush. It doesn't matter. Like, I wasn't really pressed. Of course I wanted to marry him, but I didn't have like a timeline, like, oh, I have to do it before my 30th birthday. I didn't think like that. But the man kept his word. And for me, that was very important, very special, because We like when men keep their word. We like when a man is a real man. And if a man tells you that he wants to marry you, I'm not saying that it has to happen within that year. I'm not saying that it has to happen within them 2-3 years. But y'all need to come up with a timeline that makes sense for y'all. If it's 10 years, let it be 10 years because y'all both came up with that timeline. Don't let it be 10 years because that was his timeline and it wasn't yours. No, y'all need to be intentional. And I hate that women always put their desires and their intentions last just to please a man. It's not fair. It's not right. You know what I'm saying? Like when I think about the strong woman, the strong black woman, the strong woman period, I think about how so many of people that I know personally and love, and also just what we see on TV, what we see in the movies, what we read in books. It's just this narrative that women are gonna stick beside them, women are gonna ride or die. Baby, no, okay? No more dying, no more riding. Either we are in this thing together, either we are going to be equally yoked, which is not something that you can force. It just has to make sense. It has to be ordained already. Like either we are on the same page in the same book or we're not. And again, I don't know who I'm talking to. Let me know in the comments if it's you. But if you feel that you have an uncertainty in your heart, you're not really sure where this is going with your current relationship. Maybe you want to be married, but you feel like this person is dragging you along. You need to have an honest conversation with them tonight or today. Like in the next 20 minutes after you watch this video. Call that man. Or if you're a guy watching this, hey, I watched The Ultimatum on Netflix. Sometimes it's the woman that's dragging the man along. It's rare, but sometimes that happens. So whoever you are, I want you to ask that person in your life, where do you see us in the next 2 years, 3 years, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, decade, 20, like ask the person, what are your intentions? What are our intentions? What is our plan? And if they say something like, oh yeah, I definitely want to, you know, be married, have kids, or have more kids with you, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, when do you think that will happen? And, you know, how are we planning now for that future? How are we planning? Like, what does our savings look like? Because the ring ain't gonna be cheap, you know, or it may be, I don't know, whatever your budget is, but like, how are you budgeting? And it's not even just a ring. Like, it's literally y'all's marriage together. When you start a life with someone, you're gonna have to pay bills. Like Jeremiah and I moved in, we had to split bills together. But again, we were dating with intention. We knew that we were on the track to marriage. We were already saving, like we had a savings account. And you might say to yourself, well, girl, that sounds a little wife-like to me to be doing that for a man that ain't your man. Well, baby, I was using discernment, okay? I knew that man was gonna propose. And it wasn't a situation where he was stringing me along, telling me like, yeah, you know, one day this, one day that. No, the man was very clear with me. And not only that, he had already told my father, well, asked my father. Like, he was very serious from damn near day one, okay? So again, y'all, when it comes to dating, and I know this is like a little bit more advanced in the dating timeline, getting to the stage where you're talking marriage, but I don't really think so. I think these are conversations you should have within the first couple weeks you're meeting a person. And don't be afraid to have the conversations, especially if you're in your 30s. And most of you all watching this are going to be in your late 20s, your early 30s, or mid to late 30s based on my YouTube analytics. But if you're already in your 40s, or if you're in your early 20s, it doesn't matter. This advice applies to everybody. You need to ask them, what are your intentions? Where do you see us? And if it's somebody that you're just meeting, of course you're not gonna say, where do you see us? Because y'all just met. But you need to ask that person, do you see yourself as a husband? And if you want kids, do you see yourself as a father? You need to have these questions already in the already in the chamber, okay? You need to be ready to ask and have these tough conversations. And also talk about finances. Talk about living, like, how does the person live? You know, because the last thing you want to do is fall in love with somebody and you end up moving in with them and they live like a complete slob. Like, these are questions you want to ask up front, y'all. I promise you, if you talk about money, you talk about intentions and, you know, starting a family, or what does the family unit look like? If you talk about all that up front, you will save yourself a world of heartache later, because then you were able to make the decision in advance. And of course, conversations in the beginning cannot save you from everything later down the line. I'm not saying that, because obviously sometimes people have a mask on, or sometimes people just change. Sometimes people don't really know what they want until later on and they switch up. I understand that. I get that. That's 9 times out of 10 why divorce happens. People either change, they grow apart, they don't grow together, or the mask comes off. I get that. But we're talking about dating with intention and discernment. And you can save yourself so much heartbreak and heartache later down the road if you have very tough conversations as early as possible. Baby, me and Jeremiah was pulling each other's credit score in the beginning of our relationship. We sure were. Before we even moved in together. We were long distance, and I remember coming down to Texas to visit I think we made vision boards together, our first New Year's together, and we both pulled our credit scores, and we went line by line, honey, to see what kind of debt each person has. What are we really getting ourselves into? Because when we get married, we are one. Our finances become one. So what you owe is what I owe is what you owe. You know what I'm saying? So don't be afraid to have these tough conversations. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there and be like, hey, this is what I'm looking for. And if you're not aligned with that, it's totally okay. I just don't want to waste your time. Don't be afraid. Like, don't be so scared of being lonely that you suppress your true wants and desires for a man or a woman. Like, don't do it. You were gonna regret it later. I can promise you, okay? There's never been a case where somebody was lying to themselves in the beginning and then later on they just changed their mind. Like, no, if you lie to yourself and lie to that man in the beginning, you're gonna be miserable. And I don't want that for you, okay? Now, I'm getting a little long-winded. It's almost dinner time. I got to go. My last piece of dating advice, for those of you who are in your single season or you're trying to get out there, maybe you're on dating apps, I want you to make sure that you're putting yourself in situations where you are going to be around people that you would be interested in dating. Like, if you are always in the house, you don't go nowhere, you don't do nothing, you don't ever make no plans except go to Target, honey, how are you gonna meet your husband? Where is he gonna come from? How? Now, if you're on dating apps, that could be a little bit different because you're actively scrolling, and I've never done a dating app before, but I know how it works. Like, you can express your interest on the app and stuff. That's different. But if you're not on dating apps, where are you gonna meet this person? How? Is he just gonna follow the sky? Probably not. I mean, I know that we pray for what we want, but God needs you to meet him halfway, honey. So I would take an approach if I was actively dating right now. Thank the Lord I'm not. I'm sorry, y'all, but I know it's ghetto out there. I'm only laughing because I be hearing the stories. I get it. But if I was trying to get into the dating game today, I would look up like things that I believe that person that I want to be with would do. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want a working professional man, maybe he's at like tech conferences, like Afro Tech. That's a man with a good job, or he's trying to get a good job. Are there professional organizations around that are having events? Are you Greek? You know, I'm a Delta. Deltas have events all the time, child. You know, all the Divine Nine, they always having something. Get active in your grad chapter. You know, go to these community events and these other programs that they're having in your local city, and get active, volunteer. Are you actually getting out the house and going places? A good solo date is so underrated. I'm trying to tell you. I used to love going on, and matter of fact, not even used to, I still go on a good solo date every now and then. Jeremiah doesn't like to let me because, you know, he'd be up under me, but I love a good solo date. Like, I used to go to the movies by myself, go to dinner by myself, and not just like a quick thing where I'm in sweatpants. No, I would get dressed. I would do my hair and makeup and look good and go out by my damn self. And I used to have so many men approach me, but I just wasn't in the mental space to be dating back then. But that's another thing. Sometimes you just need to get out and spoil yourself and treat yourself, and you never know who you're gonna see out and about. Also, there's so many things. Like, I'm in Houston. I used to live in New York, but I don't know what city you're in, but there's sometimes like these poetry nights and other events that attract a lot of single people. Sometimes there's like candle making classes and all kinds of just like little classes and stuff that you can find on, what's that site called? Eventbrite, Groupon. You know, you just never know until you put yourself out there and try. Doing things by yourself, it's really like a healing moment. You'll be surprised. Like, if you're someone who doesn't like to be alone, I can promise you, you got some issues to work on in therapy. But aside from that, if you just try and start doing things alone, I promise you're gonna unlock a new level of yourself that you never knew before. Like, being alone and doing things alone, not just sitting in the house alone, but actually doing activities alone and learning and exploring. It doesn't have to be dramatically like traveling the world unless you want to, because solo travel is lit. But even, you know, experimenting, going to new cities alone in your hometown. It might be a city you just haven't been to, or you didn't go to as an adult, you didn't frequent as an adult. Some things that you did in your childhood that you want to try again in your adulthood. Like, there are so many benefits to doing things alone and putting yourself out there, and that's also a great way to meet people. And last but not least, I know that was my last tip, but just one more thing. Make sure that you talk to God about it, because God knows the desires of your heart, but he also knows his will for your life. He knows what he has planned for you. Jeremiah 29:11. If you're not familiar with my love story, you can scroll back and learn about how Jeremiah and I met. But a big part of it is the fact that I had this tattoo long before I met him. So I just think about God's sense of humor. I think about how funny that is that I got this tattoo with my favorite scripture, and then years later I meet the man of my dreams, and his name is Jeremiah. So I want you to look up Jeremiah 29:11. well, I'll put it on the screen for you right here, how he has a plan for you, not to harm you or to hurt you, okay? Like God literally loves you. You're his child. He's your father. So make sure that you talk to him, okay? He wants you to prosper. He wants you to be happy and in love. But most of all, he wants you to keep him first, okay? So that's my last piece of advice. Talk to God about it and keep him first on your dating journey. So thank you so much if you made it through the end of this vlog. Y'all know I be yapping, as the kids say. I'm very long-winded, but it was good to catch up with you, give you a piece of my life lately, and stay tuned for the next vlog. Until then, bye-bye.